Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of The Truck Stops Here, brought to you by Natso. Now, here's your host, Amy Toner.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner, and I have my co-host, Darren Schulte. Hey, Darren.
Hi, Amy. How are you today?
I'm good. You are listening to The Truck Stops Here, the Natso Foundation's podcast. The Natso Foundation is a research, education, and public outreach subsidiary of Natso. This podcast is just one of the many educational tools the foundation creates, and I have a guest today with me, Michael Lawshe. You're the president of Paragon Solutions. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So I invited you onto the podcast today to talk about what's in and what's out in travel center design. So before we get into that, can you just tell them about Paragon Solutions, what you guys do?
Oh, sure. Paragon was founded about 37 years ago, and we specialize in what I'm going to call retail design, which encompasses the entire site in travel centers. It would include the site planning, the exterior look, the interior layout, the finishes, all of that. But to sum it up, we try to plan out the customer journey, whether it's the professional trucker or the four-wheel client, whatever. We try to map out the customer journey and maximize that effort. So through good design.
Awesome. Okay. So like I said, in, what's out. I've been seeing this all over social media. And of course I had to hop on. Let's start by talking about inside the store. Is there anything, let's do out first. Is there anything that you're just not putting in for design anymore?
You know, if I were to pick one thing, it would be lounges. We just don't really want to waste the retail space. Mm-hmm. That being said, we've shifted to more of a business approach where there is a need for, a workspace or something else. So multi-use space is really more in now. How can you maximize what the needs of that professional driver are?
Yeah, absolutely. Darren and I have talked about that before. I've been seeing more and more small sitting areas in travel centers or convenience stores that, like a Get-Go had one that I was in. I'm someone who I can work anywhere. And so I've definitely found myself just sitting with my laptop working for sure.
Yeah. And COVID kind of maximized it, right? It was going in that direction, but certainly the amount of people that work from home or partially at home, that has made a difference. So now if you're on the road, you can find a place.
Darren, is there anything you can think of that's out for inside?
Out for inside. Certainly, Michael nailed it on the head with the lounges. I think even in some cases, believe it or not, is the number of showers. Again, in 30 years ago, if you didn't have 15, 16 showers in your stores, you were missing the boat. Yeah. So I think those types of things, as Michael had referenced, and he's spot on, everyone's really taken a hard look at what we used to call amenities, right? Do you really need them? And if you do, can you somewhat repurpose them? So showers, laundry, movie theaters, lounges, and those types of things are all being rethought.
One of the things I like to say is, really using analytics, using data to figure that question out, Amy, because there's no single answer. There's no silver bullet, and a lot of times people listen in a podcast like this and say, oh, well, Darren said no lounges, so no lounges. Yeah. No, there's exceptions to that rule. There's exceptions to every rule. I use the analogy, ready, shoot, aim. And yes, I did that intentionally because that's what a lot of people do is, go because they heard something or they saw something. So I got to do it, right? Mm-hmm. No, there's so much analytics out there and so much data and so many different ways to gather that. We're doing more on the front end, even with small independent single store operators, where we're doing intercepts and outtakes and surveys. And we're gathering information to find out the uniqueness of their customer, because their customer is entirely different than the customer down the road or in the next county or the next city, whatever. And so if you use that data, you're going to find the answer to your question is going to be slightly different in every single store.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the beauty of it. So in one, if I can digress a little bit, which I do, in one survey that we did for one of the big guys, it came back, and one of the key takeaways. This is from truckers being interviewed. What they said was takeaway was truckers want to be treated like people. Now let that resonate a little bit. Truckers want to be treated like people because so many times we try to pigeonhole them and put them in a corner, and you can't do that anymore. You never could, but I think people would always try to just decide this is what we're going to do for truckers, and we're going to get their money and then get them off the lot. Mm-hmm. If you treat them like people, if you really figure out what they need, if you really figure out, going back to my customer experience profile, you'll find the secret sauce.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a really great example of that is if you look at the back court of all of our travel centers and truck stops, they're terrible. So the front courts are gorgeous, and they state a lot of stuff about like the features and the benefits of the property or what food offerings they give. And Michael's spot on. For some reason, we think, oh, that doesn't really matter to the truck driver. So in the back of the back courts, there's usually no signage. There's no mention of food. There's often the trash cans are back there, the totes are back there. It's quite amazing, and this speaks for all of our industry. Whether they are independents, regional players, and/or chains. It's kind of funny that the core customer, the business that generates the largest revenue, we're not necessarily saying profit per se, but the largest revenue dollars for our business is kind of treated differently, and he's spot on about that, and they should be treated with the same amount of attention and detail that we give to the forecourt customer.
Can we change the name of the podcast to Truckers Are People Too?
Okay, so we got the lounge is out. So what's in that space? What's inside?
Oh, so much in the way of amenities, and again, it's different in every location. But I'm seeing more approaching the medical field. Whether it's different types of medical care, the technology that we see now coming in, whether it's in the food service side or actually in the general side. There's so much of that's bringing into the store. It's totally different than it was.
Go ahead, Darren.
I'd add to Mike's point, and he's again spot on with that, is there's also a big focus now on retail, especially in certain areas that have gotten really tight in terms of fuel profitability. 20, 30 years ago, it was really incredibly important to focus on the performance of your store inside. And that's beginning to ramp up again. And so in some areas where they are eliminating a lounge, as we referenced, and Mike said it, creating more retail space, you're starting to see people focus on like gifts and novelties and toys, but not in the traditional gift and novelty toys that we've all done, the little Schlotsky stuff. We're talking, purses or, that kind of might go into the apparel side, but a lot more focus on what we call fundamental retail items. So apparel sets, again, not just a lady's sundress hanging off a shelf, but literally retail sets for toys, gifts, and apparel. And that's beginning to pick up as we have a big focus on, the profitability of the inside of the store.
Tagging onto that, and you're right, Darren, but I would say the specificity of it, localization.
Yeah.
Where people are bringing in local goods and services for those retail sets is absolutely huge right now. And using the data that I mentioned to truly understand your customer and then customizing the retail sets to meet the needs and expectations of that retail customer. That's how you take it from a good store to a great store.
That's a great point. Great point.
Well, we're still inside. Is there anything in the food area that you guys feel in, out? So it's always a question. I know chicken is in, so we can just put that one down.
Yeah, Nashville chicken is in.
Always in.
And so if you wanted to generalize, staying relevant in food service means constantly changing. It means, you don't have the same menu that you had 5 years ago. If Nashville chicken is in, well, okay, let's do that. Let's substitute something out. But I would say staying relevant, staying topical with again, that local need, with that understanding that customer base. We have customers that are doing Indian food, that are doing, very different things. And so that becomes a differentiator that says, hey, we're different. Indian truckers are people too. So we're going to take care of them because no one else will. And it's a beautiful thing. You can find some great food in some of our travel centers.
Yeah, to support what Michael's saying, a few weeks ago I was visiting with a member who has multiple QSRs in their establishment, and they have their own proprietary Indian food program. And the Indian food program was outselling each of the QSRs. And these are brand name QSRs, very large names, but the performance out of the Indian food program was, I wouldn't say twice as much, but running very close to that. And another interesting comment about different types of food is one of our members who has multiple locations shared with us that the number one selling item out of their cold box, their reaching cold box, their walk around, was sushi, packaged sushi. And I know people say, oh, I'm not going to get sushi from a truck stop or a convenience store or a gas station. But for a statement like that to be made, that was the number one selling item out of a walk around reach-in, is a pretty powerful statement.
We had a customer, and I don't think this is unusual. He was developing a new facility, a new store. And his first hire, 6 months before the store was about to open, was a chef. And they used that 6 months. He paid him for 6 months to develop the menu, perfect the menu, source everything, and it was all fresh and wonderful and good. So you can't mail it in. You can't rubber stamp a generic pizza program or a generic chicken program. You really have to step up your game in today's competition.
What about outside? Either on the gas side or the diesel side, outside, what's in?
So I like to say, going back to my customer journey thing, the customer journey starts when they see the billboard 50 miles away from the location, right?
Yeah.
So they start to think. Now, maybe they have a memory of a good dinner that they had or a snack that they had. Maybe they have a bad memory. I don't know. But the journey has already started, right? Because he's working off memories now. But as he pulls in, what does he see? What does he feel? Ultimately, what does he taste? But as he's coming onto the site, is there clear separation between the forecourt and the backcourt? There should be. And whenever possible, you need to. And, that's one of the fundamental things. But as Darren was saying earlier, some of the things that traditionally have been in the backcourt are just garbage, whether it be the dumpsters or just garbage. Raise the bar, bring in some outdoor areas, bring in some specialty secured parking, bring in better lighting, really think through it. And instead of treating it like it's the butt end of a building and, you guys can figure it out, really think through that customer journey. And so we're spending a lot more time giving bigger parking spaces, giving better lighting. You can't just cram people in and expect to stand out against the competition these days.
What about canopies that have unique designs? Are those coming? I want those to come.
That's a great question. I don't know that the unique designs on the backcourt are coming in as much as the branding, the colors.
Okay.
For a while, it was, hey, let's do a generic canopy, paint it black, and paint the underside black because, again, you got diesel smoke and everything. But there are more people putting their brand back there, and when they put their brand, their statement, they treat it with more respect. They, meaning the owners, treat it with more respect. So it's all about what do you see, what do you feel? Do you have music going? Do you have greenery? Do you have landscaping? Little things mean a whole lot because truckers are people too.
Yeah. I think, again, to support what Michael's saying is it's something as simple as if you have the space of where you lay out your islands, for example, sometimes the space doesn't allow the operator to put the islands in the most appropriate place. But certainly operators shouldn't think if the diesel island is 50 yards away and we're in Pennsylvania in the winter, if they're expecting that customer to have a good experience and come in and spend money, that's probably not going to happen. So Michael's really spot on. You do have to really think through those things. And again, sometimes we're landlocked. We can't make certain decisions. But when you have the space, it's important to do that, to really talk and walk through that. I've seen some of Michael's designs. He's done some really nice things where when the space permits it, they've allowed for some temporary truck parking right close next to the building so that the truck doesn't take up space in the fuel islands, that he or she can pull their truck up. Jubitz does this, for example. The truck can pull up and jump out and go inside and get something to eat or whatever it may be. So putting some thoughts behind the design and everything, I think, is really critical.
I love that statement, Darren, because so many times they put the 5 lanes of diesel, and then if you want to park, you've got to back in, 250 yards away, and in Pennsylvania or somewhere else, and it's really ridiculous. You're not treating that customer as you would want to be treated. You're not treating them like people, and so the temporary parking, I call it short-term parking, is vital. And something as simple as when you set up your islands, set up the post-fueling, because they're going to stack behind, but they're going to pull forward if it's in their best interest. So if by pulling forward, they're pulling 80 feet further away from the door, they're less likely to do it, right? So a little intelligence in analytics of how you're laying that out and what that customer journey is. I mean, just pretend you're that customer and, you're getting out of your cab and how are you getting in and how are you greeted, et cetera. We did one, down in Savannah, Port Fuel, beautiful store. And as they come in, of course, the weather's always good there. But, they've got a place to clean up, an outdoor sink where they can clean up with special soap. They've just, filled their vehicles. And, something as simple as that is very much appreciated. I was standing there with the owner, and 2 different customers in the span of 10 minutes came up and said, "Hey, thanks for doing this. We appreciate it." It's the little things.
Yeah, again, I think you're spot on about it. We would never do that in the forecourt, right? And we would never, as an example, build gasoline islands that are 100 yards or 50 yards away from the main building. We would never do that, and yet we do it frequently in the back. And those small things do matter. If you want to convert that customer, if you're not interested in that customer coming in and buying a sandwich or buying some food or whatever it may be, then maybe you're not concerned about that. But if you want to try to convert that customer into a paying customer, then you need to be thinking about the small things.
Yeah, and how are you converting them? Are you using technology and the ability to order at the pump? But frankly, that's antiquated now. Do you have an app on the phone where while they're fueling, can they be ordering, their meal? Can they be ordering, other things? What's the convenience factor? Because time is of the essence. So how easy is it for them to come in? In the case of Port Fuel, they wash up, they come in. If their meal's ready, they grab it and they go. And it's very simple. And you're treating them, again, like people, like you do with the forecourt. And that's ultimately the secret. It's not hard, but you just have to be consistent and you have to just really analyze what are they going through. I mean, they have a tough job, but there are brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws and cousins, and truckers are people too.
All right. We're going to end with rapid fire in out, but did we miss anything? Anything that you want to make sure we get in for in or out?
I love rapid fire, Amy, because you always ask questions that can't be answered.
No, they are.
You set us up. I know you're going to. I'll do my best. So there's probably going to be caveats to the yes or no.
Okay.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Darren and I are going to disagree on 1 or 2.
Okay. Oh, do you guys want to both do it?
Well, I don't need to do it, but one thing I was going to say, one thing I would add about like food, just for folks, is there is definitely a move to speed the process of ordering food, not only as Michael referenced about technology, but using food by weight. So keep an eye on that, where folks will be putting in salad bars or their own serve yourself food bars, for lack of a better word, and using it by weight. So it's super rapidly quick for your customer. He or she, you post the price of what it is by weight, and the customer goes and loads it up, puts it on a scale, and pays it, and off they go. So keep an eye on that. That is certainly beginning to start picking up for our operators.
That was big a while back, and it is absolutely coming back. We've got a place right downstairs from my office here, and they've got the salad bar. And I know it every time. I'm a sucker for cottage cheese. And cottage cheese is the heaviest thing on that salad bar. Therefore, it's the most expensive. Certainly not worth it, but I like it, so I get it.
Yeah, there you go.
If I just got all that lettuce, it'd be very light and it'd be a cheap lunch, but I never do that.
No, of course not.
Give them the opportunity to get exactly what they want, the way they want it. Treat them like people.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the rapid fire?
You bet.
Okay. So in or out, drive-thrus?
Yes, in.
In. Okay. What about beer caves?
Okay, so here's where you're throwing stuff out. Beer caves, when the demographics call for it, yes. Drive-thrus, when the demographics call for it, yes. But in both cases, if it's a pure interstate location, no. If it's got local backup that supports those efforts, then yes. So remember what I was saying about one size fits all? People want to just throw it in, and here you are setting me up, baby. I know you're doing it.
No, I would agree with you. You're spot on. That's exactly right. See, we are in agreement with those two things. 100%.
But I said drive-through, yes, and you were going to jump in and say, no.
No, I wasn't. I know you have evolved because you are such an exceptional person, and I mean that. You have evolved, and your customers are benefiting from that.
Yeah. So easy a caveman can do it, Darren.
Okay, what about innovative vending machines or automated vending?
In,
yeah, me too. Okay, so Darren, you read my mind. The next one is salad bars. That sounds like that's in.
Oh, absolutely in.
Okay. Self-checkout.
In, squared.
Okay. What about coffee bars? Big cup. In. Okay.
Full barista coffee bars, not just coffee. Yes.
Okay. I had driver's lounge, but you already said
out.
Okay. We'll end with this one because Darren said he thinks automatically being open 24 hours is out. What do you think?
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay. All right. That's good. We're gonna end on that. All right. Thanks, guys.
That's the first time we've disagreed the whole time, Darren, and she's going to end on that. We're going to have a throwdown because we disagreed, but that's all right. Friends can do that.
Okay, thanks for listening to today's episode of the Truck Stops Here. You can find us online at natso.com/podcast. If you have any questions or want to come on the podcast, reach out to me at atoner@natso.com. All right, thanks, Michael, and thanks, Darren.
The Truck Stops Here was brought to you by Natso, the association representing truck stops and travel centers. Visit natso.com for more information. The Truck Stops Here is produced by Natso in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.